Okay, guys, Attorney Walter Hnot. Now, here's an idea. There's a gentleman who's been talking to me about this lottery idea. And the lottery idea is essentially something created to help people who are on that repetitive, reduced, smaller income check, right? Which is in the form of Social Security benefits, which is a benefit they paid into over time. And then they get this little bit of income every single month. Now, a lot of you guys know of Social Security checks such as supplemental security income, Social Security disability insurance, retirement, spousal, survivors, disabled little child benefits, one of those types of programs. The idea here is, though, that many of those individuals get stuck in a poverty routine. It's this rotation over and over and over, and then ultimately people end up in a situation where they just can't afford things. So the idea of having a lottery, having something that can basically pay in more money to you to boost you into a better spot, has its appeal, right? It's something that could be really good for people. They could pay in a small amount, and then boom, their life could change. Now, I've got the gentleman here who basically had the idea. And what I want to do is start off with what this Social Security lottery would look like and how would it fight poverty. So, good sir, Dale Waller, good sir, can you walk me through what is the idea? Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, first of all. Hello to your audience. The idea is really going to be, my idea was really going to be more of a raffle than a sweepstakes or a lottery. Because in my mind, I just figured a raffle, somebody always wins versus a lottery where it just goes on and on and on and builds up, and nobody ever seems to win. And it would be kind of like a pay-to-play situation where you would have to pay either $1 a day, $2 a day, or $3 a day. 3 different tiers, as Walter suggested to me. And the $1 tier would be like a $1 million raffle every single day of the year. Every single day of the year, somebody would become a new millionaire in America. And there's already about 17 million millionaires in America. So we're the leading countries. Let's keep it that way.
So,
or a second tier of a first of the month. Also, in addition, a $10 million raffle. Or on the third final tier, a gold ticket tier. You call it. There's 11 federal holidays, so have a $100 million lottery, or not lottery, but raffle. Go ahead, Walter.
So I guess what my question is, the idea is people would pay into this thing. And, I think the raffle is a good idea because I know raffles can be like a nonprofit gig, whereas lottos are like a for-profit thing. And pretty much the states all control that. The amazing thing is way back in the day, I looked at lotteries and things like that. And to me, it appeared that the states and the feds basically control all lottery aspects at this point, except for those who are outside of the United States federal regulations, which are, of course, Native Americans and groups like that. But for me, a raffle, they win every single time in the sense, or rather there's a winner every single time. Walk me through. So ultimately people pay in $1 a month or $1 a day or $2 a day or $2 a month or something like that. And there's these different amounts that they could potentially win. Walk me through this. When it comes to how this would be good for Social Security recipients, right? You're retired, disabled, things like that. How would this help those individuals? What would be the strengths of it? Yeah.
Oh, the strengths. Okay. Well, there will be revenue generation where this raffle would, even after paying everyone out, it would benefit the Social Security Administration by probably approximately $100 billion a year, which would tie up the shortfall that they're facing, and it would avoid the 2034 crisis that we're all going to face under the current plans of the administration. So I think if we shore up the Social Security Administration for now to 2034 and beyond, the Social Security Administration will not have to face these 23% across the board cuts or whatever and rely on current blanket taxes.
Okay, so basically,
I think it helps everybody.
So this could be used as like a jumping board to battle essentially the not enough trust fund money in the trust funds. And that's good because we're not getting results from the politicians. The politicians don't have a solution. Walk me through. Now we've talked about it could help the Social Security trust funds. It could basically make people wealthy, or it could just boost them. And I mean, you could say, yeah, $1 million, 100 million, you could have those numbers. You could also just have people win $50,000 and have 100 winners, or this many winners, that many winners. Because, the real amazing thing about this is that you wouldn't have to make people millionaires to get them out of the rut that they are. $50,000 to a retired person or SSI recipient is absolutely massive. But what are the pitfalls to this thing? Like, where is this weak in the market? Like, where could this not be used in a positive way?
Well, this could fall into, say, a social issue of gambling addictions or related social problems, or some of the research I did was they call it regressive taxation, where it could disproportionately affect low-income individuals, or it could have a negative image. Sometimes it's associated with negative perceptions as exploiting the hopes and dreams of individuals while making profits, but I don't see this as making profits. I see this as a raffle.
So, I mean, my question to you then would be, and I get that. So SSI people usually get less per month than SSDI people. I mean, some SSDI people, some retired people, they have to use SSI to boost them to get to the point where they get around $1,000. But I get it. Like, let's say the average retired person gets around 1,800, average SSDI person gets around 1,500, average SSI person gets over 600, but not much over. And then, of course, the max SSI is over 900. So I guess what you're saying is, people who are in these different categories that get more per month are likely to be able to buy more entries into the raffle than individuals that aren't. But I mean, the counter argument I would say to that is, isn't with a raffle, isn't it one of those situations where basically like people don't have to go ahead and pay to play for a raffle? Like, isn't it one of those things where legally they can just go ahead and opt into potentially winning and not put any money in? Is that one of the legal requirements of raffle? Keep in mind, I'm not super up on, gambling law and, sweepstakes and all that jazz, but is that part of the gig? Yeah.
No, both a raffle and a lottery, you have to pay for a ticket. It would be a sweepstakes where you can just register with your information and potentially win something.
Okay.
Because the raffles are usually used for nonprofit organizations and charities, whereas lotteries could be like, government run, and, they get their cut. And so that's what I see the difference between a lottery, a raffle, and a sweepstakes is it'll be a sweepstakes, where you just register and you don't have to pay or anything. But I want this to be like a pay-play raffle. So not a lottery, not a sweepstakes.
I'm seeing for Florida law, it looks like for a nonprofit organization, and keep in mind, if the state does it, they can do whatever they want. They're not restricted by these rules and regulations. But I see for a nonprofit organization, it looks like they can't charge an entry fee, but people would basically pay in through a donation to go ahead and enter into the raffle. But I mean, if the state does it or the feds, essentially they can do whatever they want. They can make up whatever rules they want. They can have a raffle or a lotto or sweepstakes or whatever, and have people opt into it. The only problem I have with the idea of the states or feds doing something like this is that, as we can see, our trust funds currently, as they stand, with our retirement, Social Security, disability insurance, etc., they don't have a good, proper understanding of where the economy is going and where the math is going and how these programs are unfortunately going to be doing in the future, in my opinion. And I feel like something like this raffle should be done by the people as something that would bolster essentially the failures of our Social Security Administration's system. Do you feel the government should run this, or do you feel the people should run this?
I kind of am leaning towards the government should run it, and I'm currently in the process of writing a congressional letter with all of these details laid out, the SWOT analysis for the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, all the details of the $1 a day, $2 a day, $3 a day tiers, all the benefits to Social Security current recipients. But yeah, I want to mail a letter out to all 535 congressional members and hopefully light a fire under their butt to possibly get this SSA thing fixed. Because I'm not sure that people can do it on their own. That's why we elect politicians. So let's let them have the information and run with it. That's my idea.
So, okay, let me ask you this. Considering that the politicians are not willing to allow private investment, right, with Social Security benefits, considering that the politicians are very gridlocked with the law as it is. How long do you think it would take for them to get this up and rolling and then make sure it has continuous lifespan and won't end up being in the same thing that the retirement benefits are, which is trust fund limited due to improper mathematics? Like, how long do you think it would take for them to get it up? And then how long do you think it would last under their control?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, and my thoughts are,
I would hope
yeah,
that it could be done within like a 2-year congressional member, election sitting. So I would hope it could be done within 2 years, or maybe within a 4-year presidential campaign election. So I would say 2 to 4 years. How about that?
I'm thinking like 4 years to get it passed, and then they set it out into the future of another 3 years to actually have it be up and running. And then basically it lasts as an idea until they run it into the ground of about, I'd say, 15 years. That's where I would put it at if it was run by the government. And the scary thought about that for me is that if the government were to go ahead and have it piddle out, I mean, they could create their own mini agency, right? Or they could attach it to basically what's governing the lottos. They could attach it to the SSA, have a sub agency under the agency. But the point that I'm getting at is my concern with the government running this is that they can repurpose funds the moment they see it on a spreadsheet and say, you know what, I'm seeing money there. And ultimately what they did with Social Security benefits is that they said, okay, cool, we're going to create this program. We're going to tax the people. The taxation clause, which, just so you know, the Supreme Court justice that became the chief Supreme Court justice back in that day, was the one who gave the idea to those who were legislating the idea of Social Security to do it through the taxation clause, because they have virtually unlimited power when it comes to taxation. And so I see this as just another potential form of tax that they would turn it into and then manipulate the outcome of whatever funds end up in the pot. And remember, the government, based off of statistical analysis, tends to take about 6 times more, right? So if you say, okay, it takes a private company $100 to do that thing, it takes the federal government $600 to do that same one thing. So if the federal government were to do it, then whatever people pay in, I'm assuming that the administration of it would take, a certain amount. So let's say if it took, let's say if it took $2 million to administer this program, right? If the government were to do it, you'd have to take $12 million to go ahead and administer this program per year. And then that's $12 million sucked out of it.
Well, I've researched some ways to help keep the government out of the Social Security Administration funds. Say one would be like protect the trust funds by holding them in a trust and invested in special issue treasury securities. Transparency and accountability. Implement strict oversight and transparency and accountability measures.
Sure.
Legislation and legislation that specifically prohibits the use of Social Security funds for purposes other than benefits to eligible recipients. Public awareness, educating the public about the importance of protecting Social Security funds. Advocacy, individuals and organizations can advocate for policies and measures that protect Social Security funds and ensure their proper use. By implementing these measures and maintaining a strong commitment to protecting Social Security Administration funds, I think, they can help ensure the long-term sustainability and integrity of the Social Security system.
So, but do you feel that they will keep the hand out of the cookie jar? Because remember, all of those laws and regulations are one massive 3,000-page bill away from getting taken out by just one sentence being changed on one document. Do you feel that they will be able to keep their cookie hands out, their little fingertips off the cookie?
Well, I also planned on this congressional letter that I was planning on sending to all of the congressional members, was developing an app for your law firm and putting this letter on your actual app to where people could go look at it and see it and read it for themselves and get all the massive amounts of people, seeing it and getting behind it and kind of forcing the issue of the government not putting their hand in the cookie jar. And I'm not sure how you hold the government accountable for doing something that the people don't want them to do.
Well, you make legislation so that they can't touch it for so many years. That's usually the way and that's the thing is the American people do not trust the government. Like there's it doesn't exist. Like there's just nobody that trusts the government anymore. And then the government employees, the senators, the House reps, they don't trust the government. So the way they sell something to the American people about them doing something is they're like, okay, we're going to pass this legislation and then we're going to pass something that says we can't touch it for the next 10, 15, 20, whatever years. And that's how they sell, to the American people that they won't take their greasy little fingers and grab and change and modify and F over the American people, which, to be fair, they've done with every single program that we have so far. They've increased taxes everywhere they can. They've found ways to, constantly tax new items. They've found ways to, access any money made on top of the trust funds. They found ways to legally protect themselves so that they can change the program at will and then own no difference, even if it's a reduction in benefits and worth to the people, to the American people in a legal lawsuit. So what do you think they should do? They should pass it and then past 50 years, they can never change it? Or what do you think?
How about, I would think maybe like 15 years, because 2034 is 10 years away. So we'd be able to see how it worked out as far as averting the crisis in 2034. Actually, maybe I think they predict a crisis of 2047 or 2057 for the disability insurance program. So maybe a couple of years past the 2057 disability insurance program crisis mark.
Okay, so
yeah, it's a protection time frame. That makes sense. Maybe to be both past of those potential crisis moments that they put out in a report to the public.
Now I'm going to make you a senator for the next couple of minutes. You're a senator. You see that it now gets us directly past the 2033-2034 trust fund run out situation with essentially the retirement trust fund. And you're now looking at this program. You're sitting there, you're thinking, okay, this helped us out with that. But now we've got all of these immigrants. They're coming off of their SSI 7-year program. And now we're in a situation where we need to fund them even more. How do we get the money into the general taxes from this? How do we take more from it? What would you do if you intended to move funds away from it to benefit programs that have nothing to do with benefiting Social Security recipients other than maybe moving them to pay for some particular group?
Oh, wow. I'm a senator. Let's see.
It's a big hat. It's a fluffy one.
Okay, let's see. Give me 1 second.
Okay, yeah, think about it. While you're thinking about it, I want to talk about a couple of ideas. Guys, so when you see, and I see in the chat section and in the comment section, when you see this video, I want you to basically put a comment in there about what you think would be good with the raffle idea. And the idea is simple. You pay in money, might be per day, per month, per week, per whatever. Might be bi-monthly, which just means every 2 weeks and a bit, or every two, whatever. Bi-monthly just means the middle of the month, the 15th, and then whatever the last day of the month is. So the point is you pay in a little bit of money and then somebody wins the raffle. And then somebody gets, could be, $10,000, $100,000, $50,000, $1 million, whatever. They get some money. There could be a lot of winners too. But if all of these people and individuals pay in that money, they can go ahead and win it. When they win it, then basically, they live a very cool life because they went from extreme poverty or, stuck in the rut of retirement. And that's the thing too. It's a raffle. Anybody could win. You could have a billionaire that puts in money to the raffle and then wins it. It has to be fair and it has to be across the board. What are your thoughts on it? What are pitfalls? What are opportunities? What are strengths, weaknesses? What do you see happening and how could it be protected from the federal government? I'm going to go back to Mr. Waller real quick. Good sir, walk me through. What is your idea on that?
I would try to come up with legislation to propose or advocate for budget allocations that specifically designate some of those funds exactly for the Social Security Administration without fail. I have to work with other members of Congress, relevant committees, and go through the legislative process to support the system.
So
I have to.
So real quick, Slothering said it
follow
should
the appropriate legislation, budgetary procedures.
Gotcha. So okay, well, what percentage do you think they should take out of it? Like, okay, so let's say people pay in $1 million right out of their benefits. So $1 million, boop, go into this account. What of that do you think should be used to go back to the American people who just paid for it in a raffle? And what do you think should go to the Social Security Administration to bolster only the retired people's trust fund?
Well, the math that I had done in my head was, let's say there's approximately 336 million Americans in this country, and I ran through math of, say, 30% of the population just played for the $1 a day bronze level ticket, and let's say 20% of the population paid for the once a month silver ticket raffle, and only 10% would play the final tier $3 a day gold ticket raffle, where even if we paid out $1 million a day in raffle winnings, $10 million a day in monthly raffle winnings, $100 million a day for the 11 federal holidays, that would still leave the Social Security Administration with over $100 billion, and Americans have spent approximately $110 billion a year on lottery tickets anyway. And your question is, what percentage
should go to the SSA trust fund? Yeah, to the SSA trust fund versus giving back to the people. I mean, because remember, the people are going to want to all just go back to a bunch of winners that paid into it, which makes sense. And you're saying as a policy thing, we should grow it into saving the trust fund, which isn't a bad idea. It's a good idea. What percentage should go to the trust fund?
Well, if I'm thinking over $100 billion gets brought in, maybe only like 1 to 2 billion is actually going to get paid out in the raffle winnings. So I'd say 2 to 3%
goes to the trust fund.
Guaranteed to be given back to the people.
So you think 2 to 3% of what they paid in should go back to the American people? Or are you saying 98% should go back to the American people?
I'm saying maybe 2 to 3% should go back to the American people as raffle winners, and then maybe 90% go back to all of the Social Security recipients because there's a shortfall there, and maybe the other 7 to 8% just goes to cover all the costs and other fees and all the expenses that are going to be associated with this. I'm not sure if that answers your question entirely, though.
So, I mean, from my perspective, why would people pay into a raffle where they only get 2 to 3% back if they're a winner? I mean, the likelihood of winning is, too low, and then the amount of payout is too low. So, I mean, I could see the flip of that. I could see, let's say 95% went to the winners, right? And then a smaller percentage would be used to bolster Social Security trust funds, specifically the retirement trust fund, because that's the one that's in shit show shape. So, I mean, that's one, yeah.
The whole point of this was to bolster Social Security current recipients' funds, while at the same time making someone new or millionaire every single day of the year. And I could follow it up with my letter with, I think I've already mentioned to you, there's like a 46 dividend growth stock, portfolio that I have in mind that could set someone up basically for life with $90,000 to $100,000 a year for life. So I don't think the main point of this is to be like a Powerball thing where one person is going to win $300 million. That's not the point of this.
Well,
the main point of this is most of the funds to go towards funding the current retirees and disabled people. helping them, and then, you know, at the same time making someone new a millionaire every day.
Well, okay. So my point to you then is, all right. So now you're standing in front of a crowd of, let's say, you know, a giant crowd, right? Stadium crowd. Let's say it's a massive, massive mega crowd of, let's say, 10 million people. So you're in front of just a once in a world, once in a lifetime, once in an event amount of people. And you have to now explain to them that they're going to pay their limited income into a program that only pays them 2 to 3%. And the rest is going to go to the trust fund for the retired who, and I can just see the argument coming right now. People are going to be like, why am I paying for those who are retired when I can't afford my food as it is right now? How are you going to convince them to get on board with only having a potential winner of 2 to 3% and the rest going into a program that has nothing to do with them unless they become retired somewhere, some way, let's say 30, 40 years from now?
I would say that it could start off as paying only $1 per day to be eligible for this raffle. So I hope that would be affordable to most people. Secondly, it would bolster the Social Security Administration, so in 10 years we don't face this utter crisis that we're currently on plan to face. And eventually one day, you know, it will affect them if we don't change anything like this. If we don't do something like this, it's going to affect them in the future. So why not head it off at the pass now?
So, I mean, and I get that. I guess what I would say is this. I don't know, and I'm reading the comments too, and the comments are supportive and very not supportive, you know, because remember, this is like another Social Security thing, and we're putting the government in charge of something they already, they failed, they screwed it up, they blew it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm seeing some of these comments here, and what's concerning me is that A, I wouldn't necessarily put the government in charge of it. And B, I would make this thing as something that has to wholeheartedly fix the trust funds. That has to come from multiple sources. This just can't come from people who want to, you know, pay into this. The other thing too is that with a lot of these raffles, you know, people are going to want to enter but not want to pay. So if this is purely a pay to play thing, it's got to be done by the state or the feds. Which forces, you know, the whole program into, they get to play with it, take the money from it and use however they want. Because remember, whatever the program starts out as, just like the Social Security Administration.
I have an idea for that.
Okay, what is it? Yeah.
Instead of maybe like on the 11 federal holidays, it is a sweepstakes instead of a raffle. Sweepstakes where you just enter for free, and you can win $1 million for free on one of the federal holidays.
I mean, that's not bad. Let me ask the chat group. Because you know, you said like $1 per day, so average month is $30 or 30 days, $30. So everybody in the chat, everybody in the comments, what do you feel is an appropriate amount to do a lotto sweepstakes, a raffle type of deal? Do you feel $30 a day would be appropriate, or do you feel $30 a month would be appropriate, or do you feel maybe $10 a month, maybe $1 a month? Like, where do you feel you could personally afford? Because, you know, SSI people, every dollar counts. Like, that's it. Every dollar, you know, every down a dollar is accounted for. SSDI people, you might be able to get some money out of them. Retired individuals, even more money. Retired individuals or SSDI people with VA benefits, even more money. And then you get to basically working class individuals, which I can tell you, working class, like my generation, is never going to want to sign on to this, because the retirement benefits, they just know whatever the government touches, they screw up. And so, you know, when they look at this whole situation of like, there's all these fixes out there they could do, but they won't do them. So, you know, the thing is this, and what I'm seeing here is $7 lucky number. That's $7. Chelly said $0. Gary said like maybe ticket to work taxes. That's an interesting idea. Gary said negative $50. In other words, no money to pay into it. Gary also said a polished turd is still crap, so not a big fan of the idea. Let's see. So I guess from my perspective, yeah, $0. I guess from my perspective, the way that I see this working better is to entice individuals to pay to play for a smaller specific group. Because remember, if you open it to everybody to potentially win, like let's say everybody in America could potentially play the game, then there's too many people that could potentially win. If you limit it to just Social Security recipients, your 70 million group, right? Your 70 million individuals. And those individuals do a smaller amount, and you give the majority, let's say 90% goes to the winners. And there's, let's say every month there's, let's say, I don't know, 100 winners, maybe 200 winners, something like that. Because the idea of having like one winner win big, maybe you could do that. And then you could have a bunch of different tiers of like, okay, this person gets 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, blah, blah, blah. But from my perspective, the idea of a raffle should not be handled by the government, because the government is known for, has committed, has intent to take funds from sources and deliver them to other sources that they were not originally intended to go into. To give you an example, SSI, supplemental security income. Nixon passed that. Arguably the most liberal program, liberal, extreme Democrat program. Like that was, like, to be fair, that program was the wokest woke ever passed by this country, ever. By the amount of people it affected, how much money was supposed to be paid out, it was the wokest woke thing ever passed. So when people tell me, well, you know, Nixon was a very, very staunch right Republican type, my response is that's 100% incorrect. Nixon was, based upon what he pushed and allowed to pass, the most woke president that ever existed, because he put through supplemental security income. If you put SSI, oh yeah, go ahead.
Well, as you kind of alluded to before, how do we make it people ran without like having it like on Indian reservations or something like that?
Well, you have it so that it follows basically sweepstakes or raffles under a nonprofit. You can't do a lotto because that's controlled by the states, but you know, you have to go with the nonprofit, a .org kind of thing, and then basically it would have to be a sweepstakes or raffle. And ultimately, what that comes down to is this.
So if it's a raffle,
yeah,
it goes with a .org, then that should go over the hump.
Yeah, because remember, a nonprofit is not in existence to make a profit. Their administrative people get paid like, you know, standard rates to go ahead and do the work. That's the, you know, there's no like, nobody in the nonprofit makes mega money unless it's a fraudulent nonprofit, and we've seen quite a few politicians with those. But the point is, I'm not saying names, but we've had some ex-presidents with a couple of those, you know. But the point is, with that, you have a nonprofit. The nonprofit, from the amount that comes in, only so much per year is spent specifically on administration of those amounts. And the thing is, like, the only thing that really grows with this is basically the amount of people who pay in, and that's all done electronically. So the amount of personnel you need to go ahead and process that would only slightly increase based upon technology needs. So, you know, they would get paid your basic rates, you know, for whatever that job was meant to be in the national economy. And then the rest of it could be used to go ahead and then with raffle, you could have it so that a certain amount was donated to specifically the federal government for the purpose of the, you know, retirement trust fund. But for me, if I'm going to perform or be a part of a raffle, the grand lion's massive chunk of meat share has to go back to the winners. Because, you know, the idea of this raffle to go back to the retirement trust fund, yeah, you could do a donation. But if people are paying in, they're not going to want to pay in if it's too hard to win and there's not enough winners. And to be fair, like if we look at this, you know, people have to be able to opt in some months, opt out some months, put in how much they want, put in how many tickets they want to go ahead and buy. And I think that it's a great way to get people. I like the idea because it gets people, it gives them a chance to get out of poverty with a higher likelihood of approval than winning the lottery, which is like nobody ever wins that but for the stars open up and magically that person is picked with that number. So, you know, from my perspective, I can see this potentially being a good idea because it magically gets people who are impoverished out of it. Now, walk me through, how can people screw this up? And I don't mean to be mean with the idea of it, but how can Americans take this and put a negative light on it, put some shade on it? How could they screw it up, taking something that's good, that gives people money that fixes their life and makes them better off and gives them a helping hand up. How could Americans screw this up? Because we've already talked about how the politicians would definitely get their greedy hands on it and then, distribute it to improper locations. How would Americans do something bad to this?
Well, I believe in private discussions we had, we talked about how they could turn it into a drug thing where they use it for their drug addiction and it gets on the news, it gets bad press, or obviously it could turn into a gambling addiction with compulsive gambling behavior or things like that. Just all those types of things like gambling and drugs, anything like that could give it a negative image right off the bat. And once it gets on the news, then it's suddenly negative for the entire country. Because all it would take is one negative image of a drug user holding some raffle ticket that didn't win or did win or whatever, and say it's just posted on a Facebook post, and then millions of people see it and they don't like it anymore.
So, and I mean, so let me give you that, because keep in mind, I represent some of the hardest criminals that aren't in prison right now and are in prison right now. Things that I see those individuals doing with the money, if they were to go ahead and get it, is they would start up manufacturing plants for narcotics. They would start up basically, entire tunnel systems of trading humans for things, whatever the benefit of that human in particular is, whether or not they're going to extract something from the human or they're going to use them for the pleasure of other individuals that pay. They're going to go ahead and basically find a way to manipulate others.
Trafficking.
Trafficking, correct. So, they're going to go ahead and basically find ways to, so let's take like Portland, right? Where anything goes kind of gig. Mega Doc 88. Thank you for the $10 donation. That's awesome. Thank you for the little pair with the #1 fan. So, with that thought, like, let's say we've got Portland, and much more goes in Portland than goes in like places like Texas or Florida or whatever. And so in Portland, my thinking is, with this whole situation, you could have somebody who literally sets up like an in-city, brothel kind of gig, which would be obviously very negative, very bad. And, they would have the money to do that as a result. And then, okay, they get arrested. Where'd you get the money? Well, I won the raffle and I'm famous and that's how, and yada, yada. So how would you protect this program against individuals like that would ruin the sanctity of making poor people in a better spot? Yeah. And remember, I'm hitting you with hard questions. These are, just for everybody watching the chat, like, these are very tough questions. They're very difficult. They're not meant to be easy, but they are questions that if you were sitting in front of a Senate panel, it's the same kind of stuff they'd be asking you, Do you want to think about that one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
give me a second.
Yeah.
Is there like a one sentence question you can break it into?
Sure.
Break it
Yeah.
down to?
So winners and their resulting actions with the money may be negative, immoral, unethical, resulting in very unpopular, let's just say, like, view of the program. And what are we calling this program? Like, does this thing have a name? What are your thoughts?
I called it. Well, I called it Fedball.
Fedball.
I think you called it just SSDI lottery. So I called it Fedball.
I would love to see this. I would almost call this like the People's Raffle. Okay. I feel like that would be a really, really good, like, let me even see, like, let me go to GoDaddy and see if that's even available. People's Raffle. Because, a lot of that comes down to, like, is the thing People's Raffle. Let's see what we got. Yep, that's available, but we want the .org because it's nonprofit. Can't be a profit. People's Raffle. Do you want me to buy peoplesraffle.org? It's up to you. You get to use it.
What do you mean I get to use it?
Well, I mean, if you're part of it, I know you came up with the idea, but I'm expecting you to be part of the management of it. Yeah, you're an idea guy. Give me that. But there's also a management are you going to join the team?
Peoplesraffle.org.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not go with that?
I mean, to me, that's,
that's a good idea.
I mean, we could call it the
Just
Citizens
like
Raffle.
Your YouTube thumbnail, that was a good idea. So you're a good idea person too.
Okay, so do you think? I mean, what do you think? People's Raffle, and guys, in the chat section, we're trying to get Mr. Waller on board with which URL to pick here. What do you think the name of this thing should be? Should this be the People's Raffle, the Citizens Raffle, the U.S. Raffle, the Social Security Raffle, the SS Raffle, the Social Security Raffle? What do you think it should be? Should be the sweepstakes? What do you think? Are permanent residents allowed in? Yeah, I would imagine, they could, as long as they can access Social Security benefits, I think they should be
anybody with a Social Security number.
Yeah, I think they should be able to access. Let me see. Any ideas, guys? Any peoples encompasses all? Yeah, that's true. Maybe beneficiaries raffle, maybe Social Security raffle, maybe ssraffle.org. What do you think? Where are we at? Who likes ssraffle.org? Who likes that one? Does anybody like that one? It's not snazzy, but it is what it is. What are your thoughts? Everybody's thinking. Nobody's typing. Mr. Waller, what do you think? What do you think about Social Security raffle or ssraffle.org?
How about that? ssraffle.org.
Okay.
That's easy to remember. And it's just, SS, I think most people will relate to that to Social Security.
Okay.
So I think that's not bad. SS Raffle I think I like that better than People's Raffle. ssraffle.org.
All right, so everybody now has a job, which is if they can think of a better name, which there might not be. Think of a name so that we can get a .org URL. Diana Fernandez, thank you for the donation. Whatchamacallit. So Diana, what it's about is basically creating a raffle for Social Security recipients to be able to have winners where somebody who's impoverished will go ahead and get a big bonus by winning the raffle. And it could be a lot of people winning from the raffle. People paying $1 a month, $30 a month, whatever. And then somebody could be made a millionaire, somebody could be made 50,000 a individual and go from there. Okay, so with that said, good sir. Oh yeah, go ahead.
You want to go back to your question about maintaining the integrity and reputation of the raffle?
Yeah, if you have an answer, I'm all ears because that was a tough question. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple points with that. Let's see. The first one would be you have to lay out clear terms and conditions to clearly outline the rules, terms, and conditions of the raffle to set expectations for participants and winners. Ensure that all entrants are aware of their responsibilities and application or obligations upon winning. 2, background checks. Conduct background checks on potential winners to prevent individuals with questionable reputations from participating in or winning the raffle. To help maintain the integrity of the process. 3 would be public communication. Maintain transparency by communicating openly with the public about the raffle process, winners, and the impact of their actions. Address any concerns or issues properly to demonstrate accountability. Selection criteria. Use objective and fair selection criteria to choose winners based on predetermined factors such as random drawings or specific qualifications. Like I think you mentioned, how about we limit this to the 70 million person Social Security current recipient population? Is that what you were?
Yeah, because that's a good thing because you think about it. If you have Social Security recipients competing against all the other people who could potentially pay in, then they're also competing against all these other people who could potentially win. And if you want it to just be those who pay into this to basically, potentially win being Social Security recipients, then the chances of them winning are massively higher if it's just the Social Security recipients playing the game. Because remember, when you open it up to all those other millions upon millions of people, the likelihood of winning is just significantly reduced because you could essentially have a person, let's say you have a multi-millionaire, and they buy, let's say, 50,000 tickets. And then because of that, they win the $1 million lottery, and everybody's watching this multi-millionaire win when they just put in all of their Social Security, money to go ahead and win it. That's bad. That's not good. That's not good. So yeah.
Okay. So one of your things was have it public ran, have it limited to the Social Security current recipients, and your kind of .org thing would be SS raffle, unless someone has a better idea.
I mean,
that's what I've kind of pulled out of this for notes.
I mean, we've been 45 minutes of just kicking the ball around, and I'm reading through the comments and I'm seeing good ideas. I'm seeing, basically ideas of essentially what they like and don't like. So this is a good thing. But good, sir. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pop over to the next video to get things started. But this was an amazing chat on a very difficult topic, and I think you did an amazing job. So thank you for coming on the show. And I know you've had some additional ideas. Please prep the next idea, because these ideas I think are important to at least get the conversation going. Because
I will also, I'll look over your comments.
Yeah.
And I'll feed them. I'll feed some of the, if there's questions, I'll feed some of the questions into my artificial intelligence bot.
Sure.
And I'll shoot back answers to it.
Perfect.
I'll take notes, and some of these might find their way into a congressional letter.
Excellent. Well, sounds good, sir. I will catch you later. You have a wonderful, wonderful day, okay?
You too, sir. Bye.
Thank you, good sir. Bye-bye. I think that was really good, because this is a complicated idea. It's an idea that can be very popular or very negative. And at the end of the day, it's something that could essentially get a lot of people out of a negative situation, because what it is, at its core, is a form of income redistribution from people paying in a little bit of money, like a tax, except it could massively benefit directly just the American people by taking a little bit from everybody and then giving some people a chunk at random. And you could even do it where, if you had enough people paying in, where you had, let's say, 1,000 winners all won $10,000. I mean, how many of you, if you had $10,000 more by paying, let's say, $15 a month, $10 a month, whatever, how many of you would buy into that? So let's say you paid in, $5, a month or whatever. We bring up the calculator. Well, let's do some math on this thing. Let's say you paid in $5 a month. So we're looking at essentially $60 over the year, and potentially you had the chance of winning $10,000. Let's say you paid in $30 a month, and that was multiplied by 12, and that's $360 a year. And you had the chance of winning, let's say, $100,000. It's ideas that we should be open to talking about. Not saying it should happen, not saying it should exist, not saying there's anything concrete at all, but it is a good step in the right direction. I really think it is. I think it really, really is. So anyways, I will catch you guys in the next video. The next video that I'm going to be doing, and I just need a little break because I've got to go check on Sweetie. The next video I'm going to be doing talks essentially about, all right, so there was a video I did where I was significantly attacked by a lot of the commenters about how narcotics work, okay, when it comes to people who receive benefits, and how they basically buy into stuff, negative stuff, bad stuff, right, illegal stuff, and how they use it, and how judges know when somebody is using and abusing those. And they've got livid about one particular thing. And I'm going to actually explain / defend myself, my rebuttal, to all of those drug users out there, distributors, runners, etc., who attacked me on that particular video. So this is my shot to actually respond. I think it's going to be an interesting video, because we're going to see some comments and we're going to see some hate. But it's going to be a good video, and I'm excited about it. So please remember to like. Please remember to subscribe if you like this channel. Go to Google, type in Disability Resolution Law Firm, or Disability Resolution. Oh, there it is, Disability Resolution Florida. And then if you want to leave some stars, I really appreciate it. I will catch you guys a little bit later. You have a wonderful night, and I will see you in about 10 minutes. Let me go check on Sweetie, make sure she's okay. And then we will go from there. Thank you so much. And I will catch you a little bit later, and 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. If Sweetie needs a treat, she gets a treat. All right, I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.